Festive 500 day 5. I should get some new gloves. And it's back on the gravel bike as I dodge through some potholes and things. Have a short loop. Oh, the gate's open. Fantastic. Usually we have to dodge through that. Short loop tonight, hopefully around 55 Ks. I think I'm gonna run out of daylight. I have some lights. And it's not Easter already, is it? There's so many rabbits around here. Today's video, again, another vlog style video covering off something that I should have covered a while ago. I've had on my list of things to do. And that is 5 or more tips and tricks using the Garmin Varia Radar, which you've no doubt heard beeping away over the last 4 videos, and probably a lot of my other videos too. So kicking off, number 1, the Garmin Varia Radars have firmware that can be updated. Now this is the RTL 500, 510, 515. In Germany there's the 511 and 516 too, that are solid light only units. But they are a device that do have firmware and have updates every now and then. So if you've purchased a Varia Radar, I highly advise you to check that it's on the latest firmware, so all the bugs are ironed out and all those things that you get with new firmware. 2 ways to do firmware updates on the Varia Radar. If you have a compatible Garmin Edge head unit, it will prompt you. Garmin owning Garmin Varia Radars, they've got a funky little system that will determine that you're on an older firmware, pull down the firmware update, and you can update it from the head unit if you have an Edge or similar unit. That's probably the easiest way. Now, if you have an Element of any type or a Hammerhead Karoo, you obviously won't get that prompt. So the second way to update your Garmin Varia Radar firmware, that's a bit quieter, isn't it, is via USB cable and Garmin Express on Mac and PC. So I updated my RTL 515 today. That took a bit of jumping through hoops, so it wasn't the smoothest process via USB cable. However, that's the official process. It should work. And thank you to somebody yesterday who said you should write some notes on your top tube. There's today's show notes. So I have some interesting information, or more detailed information in this video. Latest firmware for the RTL 500, the older squarer unit, is 3.8. RTL 510 is on 3.7. And the RTL 515 with Bluetooth is on 3.32. They're the latest firmwares for the RTL radars. I hope my dead cat's working for audio. It's very windy again today. Angry birds. If you're wondering how to check the firmware on your unit, you can go to the sensor settings, and here's how to do it on a Garmin unit. It's under the sensor menu, and then you can check under about or software details. I can't remember. I'll put it on screen here. That's where you can dive through the menus and check that you're on those firmware versions that I have up on screen now. All right, that's tip number 1. Varia Radars have firmware. Make sure you're on the latest for the best experience. All right, we'll check back in a couple of Ks with tip number 2. And I'm not taking my hands off the handlebars to show you the 2 sign. It's still very windy. G'day. Tip number 2 for the Garmin Varia Radar. Securing it for next to nothing. Better than the O-ring that it comes with. The Garmin Varia mount that is supplied by Garmin has about 5mm gap that you can use to wrap a bit of Velcro tape around your seat post and the mount itself. It's a complete hack. It's a complete bodge. It costs next to nothing, but your mount will be a lot more secure than the O-ring they supply. I've done this on all of my mounts. I have enough leg clearance. If you don't have enough leg clearance, you don't want to get thigh rub by putting anything extra on your seat post. But if you have some clearance down there, this is a cheap, simple, and very effective way of securing your expensive Garmin Varia Radar to your seat post. Now you probably spotted another hack or bodge. I'll be back in a few kilometers to talk about that. So tip number 3, more of an observation, I guess, of how to get the most out of the battery on the Varia Radar. We all know the Varia Radar battery is pretty crummy. You don't get any more than 5, 6, 7 hours of use before you have to charge it if you're using solid light mode. Flashing mode, you'll get more close to double that. And there's a secret no light mode, which I'll talk about a little later on. But I did some tests this week in the Llama Lab to see how long the battery on the 510, the older unit that I had, would last. I thought the 510 would be a better representation of what people are using rather than the 515, which is the newer unit. So I set the unit on the bench, solid light going, and I hit record. That lasted 5 hours 25 before the low battery warning came up, and then it went all the way through to 6 hours 27 before the 510 switched off, which isn't too bad. I also did the no light mode test, which is a secret little mode where you switch the light off and have the unit act only as a radar. For that, I got 20 hours, 18 minutes before I got low battery warning. And it was a full, hang on, I'll check my notes, 22 hours, 30 minutes before the RTL 510 actually switched off. So the no light mode was phenomenal. Now my takeout from that, battery's still crap, we know that. But as soon as I get the low battery warning on my head unit, I switch to either flashing mode or no light mode, and I'll get at least another 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours, maybe more to get me home with the radar still working. If not, if I ignore that, as my tests show, I get around 60 minutes, which is usually not good enough. It usually happens halfway through a ride. So tips there, if you want to use the flashing light, you're going to get a lot more battery life. If you want to use the secret no light mode, you're obviously giving up the feature of it being a light and only using it as a radar, but you'll get a lot more battery out of it. I use that as my safe mode, or my safe go-to mode. Anyhow, I'll talk about how to get to that in just a moment. We've got a hill we have to start tackling in just a few Ks. Okay, what better place to explain a technical configuration than up a hill this late into the evening. Usually I'm sitting at a desk. Much easier to be explaining technical things. Okay, so no light mode on the Varia Radar. Defeats the purpose of it being a light, but you get a lot more battery life out of it if you need to switch to this mode. There's a trick to this. Backstory. The Varia Radar has two functions. It's both an ANT Plus radar and an ANT Plus light. And if you've got one, and you've paired a unit to a head unit, you'll know that if you pair the radar, it'll automatically pair the light and form the light network. So, light off mode, I'm not sure it's an undocumented feature, but it does work. The trick being is you have to have your radar paired as both the radar and the ANT Plus light. Holy shit. I'm not on my 650Bs today. You have to have the radar paired as both devices, and then from there you can go to light, set to individual mode, and simply turn the light off. You can also cycle through the modes with the button and go to light off mode, and the radar will still function. Now, what happens on head units that don't support ANT Plus lights, such as the Wahoo Element units, it will then switch the radar off too. So it doesn't work on Wahoo units, on the Elements. It's effectively a light setting rather than a radar setting. So there's the trick, pair them as both, switch the light to off mode, and it will still function as a radar. Wahoo owners out of luck. Hammerhead Karoo users, I believe this will work. I'm not quite sure how to set that though. I haven't gone through the menus on that. And that's where I got the, I can't see the numbers, they're bouncing around too much. 20 hours or 22 hours out of the 510. Out on the road, real world, you're probably not going to get that much when it's doing its thing detecting cars and vehicles and things. But as a, oh holy shit, as a safe mode go-to, if you need the radar to get home, that's an option. No light mode. Whew. Why did I choose this hill to talk about that? If that doesn't make sense, let me know in the comments. I can detail it there. For now, back to the hill. Whew. I keep pulling the camera out where I think it would be interesting to show you guys the scenery, and then the surface just turns to absolute junk. Anyhow, whilst I'm out here, again, in the middle of nowhere, let's share this tip with the cows. As you probably saw before, that hack tip is that you can run the radar whilst it's charging. Yes, we know the battery is crap. I've just spoken about that. So one way around that, if you're doing a very long ride and you want the solid light on, you can rig up something that's a total hack to get you full charge for, well, as long as the battery you've got lasts. I've got a little, I think it's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. USB cable. Wouldn't recommend using it in the wet or muddy conditions, but in a dry like this, it will no doubt go all day long. Fits in a little saddlebag, cable runs down. There's probably a much neater way to do this. I'll probably get a 90-degree angle micro USB cable so it can just plug right into the side and then run up a little neater than what I've got rigged up. Oh, back here. So there's tip number 5. Yes, 5 on my list. There's a descent just here I'm about to go down, so I'm being slow. You can use the radar whilst it's being charged. That's 5. I've got more, but I also need both hands for this section. Hey. Okay, how about I don't film here? This is complete. Oh, fuck. Holy shit. Oh my god. Wrong bike! Wrong bike again. Holy crap, wrong tyres actually. Oh. This section here would be much better suited for 650Bs at about 2 PSI. Christ. Oh, I'm cramping in my arm because of the, that. Whew. Hey cows! What are you doing outside? Go home, cows. Go. Oh, sneaky! You sneaky buggers. Grass is always greener, I guess. My headset's going to be after this. I do have a new headset to install. Let's put those in soon. I'm glad that is over. The condition of that road changes throughout the year. Usually it's pretty good, but that is the worst. The worst I've ever had it. It even ejected that bottle. That was some pretty rough stuff. Okay, bonus round on the Varia Radar, number 6. You can run the Varia Radar upside down. That's not a problem at all. If you have a lack of space down there on your seat post, the Varia Radar will operate just perfectly upside down. Not much of a tip. That's why it's a bonus. Oh, car up, and I'm directly in the sun. This is not good. All right, I think we're done with the wind today. We're almost done with the sunlight. Bike path home from here, pretty much. And maybe I'll talk about some false positives that you may get with the Varia Radar. They're not perfect, the Varia Radars, but you can encounter some false positives. And a tailwind is sometimes the cause. I'll tell you why in a moment. Okay, as I race the sun home, false positives on the Varia Radar. They're rare, but they do happen. I found they happen sometimes if there's a big tailwind behind me and I'm near some trees or hedges or bushes that are moving sort of towards me. Nothing's big enough here to set it off. It will just set off a beep and then it will go away again, because obviously nothing's coming up. But that's usually a false positive that occurs for me. There's a section of road, 20 k's that way, but it happens almost every time there's a westerly. Big trees, a lot bigger than that, with branches that move. And I'll get a beep on the head unit, I always know. Now I would rather a false positive than a false negative. False negative is there is a car, nothing's being detected. False positive is something's being detected but nothing's really there. Give me that any day. So I encounter those every now and then. Some people say that their radars will pick up other cyclists, and that's a false positive. No, that's what the radar does. It's doing its job. It can't differentiate between, I guess, anything. Maybe in the future it can, but it's still nice to know if there's something coming up behind you, whatever it is, that it beeps, even if it is a windy tree. This section of road here is called Cow Shit Sprint or Cow Shit Alley or something like that, for obvious reasons. Good road to ride, only in the dry. All right, we have probably 15 minutes of light left, or maybe 20. But that Varia Radar mount with a bit of Velcro that I told you about, that held on just perfectly. Unlike these, well, they're road drink bottle cages, they're not mountain bike cages. So that's going to happen. I do have some, I think they're the Pave cages from Elite that have a little screw dial to clamp down. That's what I should be using on those sections there. Those kind of bumps though are pretty rare. Mount Buninyong again. It's hard to miss in this area. Okay, as the sunlight wraps up, I'll wrap up today's video and call it a day there. Have I ever said how much fun gravel bikes are? That's been an absolute blast tonight. 48 Ks at the moment, be around 55 by the time I get home. This bike is so much fun. And another bonus is that, related to the Varia Radar, it's only been travelled by 5 cars in 1 hour 50.
That's actually nice.
So, you know, the reason I love riding these kind of roads, it's road bike technology, or very close to, and power meters and head units and things. It's road style kind of effort, the long straight roads and climbs and things, but there's no cars. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I've had a great night on the bike. Good power numbers too. Like all my other rides this week, this will be up on Strava. No KOMs, but just some good punches out of the saddle, and even that rough section that threw a bottle, that was still a bit of fun. In regard to the car counting on the Varia Radar, just to wrap things up for the Varia Radar, which is tonight's topic, MyBikeRadarTraffic ConnectIQ data field add-on. It's essential. It is a brilliant add-on that I'll do a deep dive on very soon. It will tell you car speeds passing. It will record that in the fit file. And the latest edition, it will tell you the last car, or the speed of the last car that passed you. It will remain on screen. 94 Ks an hour was the last car that passed me. So if you've got cameras on the bike and that, you get a pretty good record of what's going on out in the road. Anyhow, with that, I'll leave it there. We'll be back again tomorrow for day 6. Well into my quota today of Ks. I only need 39 Ks a day, so we are flying. All right, I've got to get home, get to work on this video, and come up with an idea for tomorrow. Getting tricky. That's all good. Hey, apologies for the audio today too. Hopefully it works out. Gravel's a bit grindy. Dead cat should work okay. And I've been yelling at the camera all night, so hopefully it works. Anyway, with that, thanks for watching, everybody. A few really hot days coming up, and let's not mention the cricket. Go the Aussies, we got it.